The story of a family, ancestors, and descendants. The little soul always watched the night sky with delight. The night was her favorite time of the day. Night is a time of inspiration, a time when all illusions fall, a time when you can see the whole world around you in a completely different way. The young soul received the most powerful insights, awareness, and lessons in the night, watching the starry sky and the moon that illuminated the earth, people helping them on their way. From the reflections, the young soul was pulled out by the voice of intuition, which warned of an unexpected night guest coming. The soul turned around, and in the light of the moon she saw a woman. She was extraordinary, as if she is not from this world. She was tall. She was tall, slender. By her proud posture and confident gait, you can say that she was strong and full of wisdom. She had long blonde hair, blue eyes, which, despite the darkness around her, thinned wisdom and light. It seemed that this woman knew the answers to almost all the questions. She looked like a middle-aged woman, but her young face didn't make it possible to determine her exact age. She could be both a 20-year-old girl and a 40-year-old woman. Her gait was silent, despite the fact that she wore a long white dress and a cloak. The guest came to the young soul and sat on the stone next to her. For a few moments, she contemplated the water in the lake, as if she had seen something that no one had seen. After that, she smiled and turned to the young soul and said, "Today is a truly beautiful and magical night. Do you agree?" The young soul looked at the guest, not hiding surprise and interest. "Yes, in truth. Night is a truly wonderful time of the day. You never know what you will see or who you will meet." After saying these words, the guest smiled. The young soul smiled in response, looking at a woman who clearly knew how to attract anyone. "What surprised you so much, dear soul?" The young soul was silent, not knowing how to answer this question, because everything in this woman surprised and fascinated her. "I'm sorry, you already know who I am, but I don't know your name." "Oh, that's right, I forgot to introduce myself." The woman got up and said, "I have a lot of names. Someone calls me Elena Seliada, Sabia, Sagasidad, Sabiduria, Budhi, Sanihelen. You can use all of these names, or call me just a mentor. After all, this is not our first meeting, even if you don't remember it." "Why do you have so many names?" "Because everyone who meets me sees me in their own ways." The young soul thought and then asked, "Why did you come to me today?" "You called me and I came." "But I didn't call you or anyone else." "You are wrong. Your soul called me and I came to her call to teach her one important lesson." "A lesson? Soul, did you call? Forgive me, Saviduri, I don't know, I don't understand you." "Don't worry, not everyone is able to immediately understand the meaning of my words, but over time you will cope and be able to understand me better. I'm sure of it." "But why did you say that if it's not our first meeting? How is it possible that I don't remember you at all?" "You cannot remember me because the time hasn't come yet. Now you are not ready. Your level of energy and awareness will not allow you to do it. But don't worry, in the future you will definitely overcome this problem, and I will be happy to help you with this. However, the fact that your intuition warned you in advance about my arrival suggests that you are in a harmony with yourself and the world around you, and that's great. You said you come to teach me a lesson. But what lesson, and why did you decide to come to me today? You ask a lot of questions, that's good. But are you sure that you want to get answers to all your questions right now? Yes, I am sure. I can handle everything you are going to tell me about. If that's the will of your soul, I will answer. I have to come to you to share my wisdom and knowledge that will help you on your way in this life, and perhaps it will affect your next incarnations here or anywhere else, if it's the choice and will of your soul. The young soul froze in amazement. The woman's explanations didn't give answers, and on contrary, seemed to be even more confusing. Suddenly the young soul felt an attack of anger towards this woman, because she spoke too vaguely and confusingly. The woman just smiled and laughed, watching the behavior of the soul, as if she exactly knew what she was thinking. Well, it's been only a few minutes and you're already angry with me and almost hate me. Hearing this, the young soul blushed, so that even in the dark her blush was visible. She tried to justify herself. I don't hate you at all. I guess I am angry because your answers seem to complicate me. I feel like I'm even more confused now. But you yourself asked me to answer your questions, young soul. I asked you if you really wanted to get answers to them. I'm glad you are asking questions. It means that you are interested, and the process of transformation begins inside of you. Even if it's still inconspicuous and imperceptible to you, from now, before asking a question, think. Try to feel if you are ready to get an answer to it. The young soul just nodded. Thank you, I will try into account everything you told me, and forgive me for my thoughts. You're probably wondering how I was able to find out exactly what you were thinking about. Am I right? Yes, that's right. It's simple. I see and hear more than many people. I can notice and hear more than other people can. Can I learn to do this? The young soul asked with sincere delight. Of course, but it will take time and effort on the part of both of us. But I'm sure that in the end you will achieve incredible results, as I already see that you are a very capable, wise. You also have a lot of strength and perseverance. But your restless mind often becomes your enemy instead of being your ally. As soon as you curb it, you will discover a new version of yourself. The woman thought for a few minutes, looking towards the horizon, and then continued. Today I came to talk to you about a very important topic. Which one? The theme of genus. Do you know how the generic system, family system, works and how energy moves through it? And also, I want to talk with you about how our parents influence us, not only on the physical level, but also, for example, on energy level. Have you ever thought about it? No, but this topic seems very interesting to me, although at the same time difficult. The woman glanced at the horizon again, as if wondering where to start. A couple of minutes later, she nodded, smiled, and looked straight into the eyes of young soul. So you know that each of us has parents from birth. Some parents abandon their children at their birth or later, but this doesn't change the fact that they remain parents forever. We are made of DNA of both our parents. Someone even says that we have half of our mother and half of our father. Yes, I heard about it from my mother when I was a child. And this is true. We combine the feathers of both parents, but most often child looks a little more like one of the parents. Yes, I noticed it. My sister looks more like my mother, and I look more like my father. That's exactly how it happens. But have you ever wondered why this happens? In fact, every child comes into the family for a certain purpose, and it's believed that the first child comes into the father's family, so he looks more like him. If it's easier for you to understand, you may think that he comes to help the father and his family. The second child comes to the mother's family, so he or she looks more like her and her relatives. Her task is to help the mother and her family, respectively, and the third child is on his own. So it's often said about such children that they are not from our world. Mentor, how exactly should a child help the father's or a mother's family? Oh, these can be completely different tasks. For example, if the father's family has been on the path of darkness for a long time, engaged in black magic and harming people, then when the child comes into the family, his or her task may be to change the usual foundations in the family and help them return to the path of life. Whoa, but isn't this task too difficult for one soul? The soul exclaimed in surprise. Why do you think that the soul doesn't know what is going? The woman smiled. The soul always chooses only the experience that it can cope with. In addition, we are never alone. We are always surrounded by our mentors and those who help and guide us on our way. But does it mean that if I, for example, come to my father's family, I am not related to my mother's family? No, it's not. You have a connection with both clans. But your birth programs and tasks may differ. From our parents, we inherit not only appearance but also habit, as well as those programs, settings that were in their family. Have you noticed, for example, that sometimes you speak in the words of the relatives, or, for example, you have similar habits, such as alcohol addiction? Or, for example, there may be very strong women in your mother's family who drag the family alone, although they were married. I think I noticed something like that, but how does it have to do with me? As you are part of your father's and mother's family, you inherit their programs, habits, and the emotions they experienced. What does it mean? For example, someone in your family was starving and was afraid of starving because of this, and now you, just like them, can be afraid that you will starve to death or that you will not have enough food, despite the fact that you have enough money to buy everything you need. And what can I do to avoid such an end, mentor? All generic and karmic programs can be worked out, but only if you manage to find them, as well as if you or someone who works with you has strong energy and necessary knowledge. Many programs can be destroyed with the help of arrangements of regression and hypnosis, but many people do not believe it. They don't trust, and some are also so used to controlling everything around that it's almost impossible for them to trust and relax. When you work out some lessons programs, you must be relaxed, as well as trust your soul and believe in its power, as well as you should trust those mentor spirits that lead you and support you on your way. After giving the young souls a couple of minutes to comprehend everything she heard, the mentor continued. Young soul, do you know that our relationship with parents are one of the most important in our life? It's that this relationship primarily affect ourselves, as well as the quality of our lives. I've heard about it, but I don't know how relationships with parents affect our life and why they are so important. Your relationships with parents are important, first of all, because they are the first people we met, and also our parents and our loved ones are one of our most important mentors. They give us the strongest and the toughest lessons to help us become stronger. By the way, did you know how you choose your parents yourself? Really? But how? Let me show if you are ready for it, of course. Yes, I'd like to really know it. Then trust me, I activate your memory so what you can see how you made this choice. The woman moved closer to the little soul and then, with your index finger, lightly touched her face in the area of sixth energy center. At the moment when the woman touched the forehead of the young soul, a bright light up in her eyes, and the soul saw a lot of souls that were rolling back and forth. What exactly should I see, Buddhi? Don't say a word. Just trust me and look. And you will understand everything soon. The soul trusted and silently watched thousands of souls suddenly. She saw two glowing figures. They different from all bright white glows. She didn't see their faces or names, but smiled. She knew that there were her parents. She finally found them. Her heart was filled with joy and love, and her eyes were filled with tears, which a few moments later streamed down her cheeks. The woman returned to her place again, and the soul wiped eyes, noticing her reaction. The woman smiled sadly. Now you know how we choose our parents. The soul cried quietly. A few minutes later, she took a deep breath and exhaled, while wiping her red and swollen with tears eyes. But mentor, I don't understand. If we choose our parents ourselves, why we choose those who will beat you, humiliate you, insult you, or even throw you out on the streets? Why don't we choose good parents who will support us on our way and help? Young soul, I want you to listen to me and what I tell you. I ask you to remember it forever. Your parents are the best parents for you. Now you know that you consciously choose your parents yourself. Each of us choose our parents, and you choose someone who will be the best, who will help you in implementing the mission and task with which you come to this embodiment. Your soul itself requests all experience that you live in this incarnation, which then also other people around you. So, do we ask in advance for everything that happens to us? Yes, that's right, and our parents fulfill the agreements that your souls made before come to earth. The young soul clenched her hands on her fists, her face frowned. What happened, young soul? Don't you believe me? It's a little hard for me to believe what you are saying, and I cannot believe that my parents themselves agreed to hurt me. To say those words, I cannot believe why. They probably knew that I would be hurt, then why? The young soul cried again. Her voice shook and then broke and calmed down. She cried, hugging her knees with her hands and pressing them to her chest. The woman who watched the little soul smiled sadly and went straight to the soul, quietly crying on the stone. Coming to her, she sat on the one knee, put one hand on the back of her soul, and began to gently touch her back. Little soul, look at me, please. The young soul looked up at the mentor. Tears were still flowing freely down her cheeks. The woman chuckled. The little soul looked like a small child. Her eyes were red, her eyebrows were frowning, and her cheeks were inflated. When the soul asked what was going on, the woman told her, after which both souls laughed. After that, the mysterious guest said the words, "Young soul, I want you to remember that you're much stronger, wiser than you think. You can cope and overcome everything that happens in your life. I believe in you." The soul smiled and her cheeks were covered with blush. She immediately cheered up and jumped on her feet. The woman smiled again. How important and beautiful it is when on your way there are those who believe in you, those who are nearby to take care of you and love you with all their heart. Sometimes even a few words or a simple hug can help us feel better in a difficult moment. The woman also got up and came closer to the young soul. "Young soul, would you like to know and see how souls agree on what lessons and knowledge they should pass on to each other before coming to earth?" "Yes, after everything you told me today, I'm looking forward to it." The woman nodded and touched the young soul's forehead in the third eye area and with her thumb again. At first, the young soul didn't see anything, and then she already thought that was nothing going to happen. She heard the quiet voice of her mentor. "Trust me." Hearing those words, the young soul began to take deep breaths with a delay of breaths for a few seconds, and then she took a deep exhalation. The soul repeated a similar cycle 10 times, after which it felt a sharp and powerful stream of white light suddenly surrounded her. The soul panicked and already wanted to open her eyes when she suddenly felt the hand on the mentor of her shoulder. "Breathe out. It's okay. You can handle everything. Believe in yourself and your strength." The soul took a deep breath and exhaled and felt the flow of white light taking them away. Soon the soul felt that it was time to open her eyes. She slowly opened her eyes and saw a wide door in front of her. The soul turned out in search of a mentor. Meeting her with a look, the soul nodded. And reaching for the handle, she opened the door. The soul looked inside and went into the white room. There was nothing in the room except the table on which something was lying and the chairs on which something or someone was sitting. It was difficult to determine who it was, since they were souls without bodies. They were only a silhouette consisting of the light. The soul glanced at one of the souls. Apparently it was herself, and the other was the heart of a soul shrank. It was her father's soul. The little soul turned to leave, but she was stopped by a hand which unexpected force clenched her shoulder. The soul threw a half-angry look at her mentor. It was a half-angry, half-sad look. And then she glanced again at Soul sitting at the table. Now she finally noted the parchment lying on the table. Coming closer and standing behind the back of her soul, the young soul glanced at her father's soul, looking at a long scroll. The soul came closer to the father's soul and looked into the scroll. There were a lot of sentences in the scroll that seemed to be almost endless. The soul paid attention to the words that further she read, the more she frowned. From time to time her reaction was replaced by shock, sadness, and then emotions were repeated in a cycle. Then the list included the following things: traumatic actions and childhood, bullying, the insults, humiliation, as a result self-doubt, ignoring and renunciation, frequent absence because of work or elsewhere. As a result, lack of attention, threats, fears, and only a few words at the end of the list. The task for this life is to help her to become stronger and believe in yourself. The soul looked at the man in confusion and then heard the voice of your father's soul. Do you want me to do all of this? It will help you on your way. Will it help you to release the mission with which you are going to earth this time? Yes, I am sure, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your help and contribution. I know how difficult it will be for you, because some part of you will want to treat me differently. That you will do. And what role should I play for you in this incarnation? I ask you to become my father once again and help me achieve my goal. Which one? To become stronger, to believe in yourself, in my strength, and to take the path of light, breaking the cycle of darkness that our family has had for many incarnations. I believe in you. You will succeed. I will be happy to help you on your way. The soul, opening its mouth, watched the dialogue of the two souls. When it felt, then the mentor pulled her shoulder back to the door, obeying her call. The young soul went out of the door, closing it, and soon she found itself on the ground in her body again. The soul slowly opened her eyes. Tears flowed down her cheeks. The mentor approached and came to her, the soul, and gently brushed away her tears with her finger. And then she smiled gently and said, I am proud of you. You did great. The soul was still confused. She was silent, trying to comprehend everything she saw. Sabiduria. And what happens if the soul doesn't fulfill at least one of the agreements? Then some other soul will have to give you a similar experience, or you are destined to live this experience in next life. If you are destined to live some experience, you will still get it, even if it will be in another life or from another soul. So the agreements need to be observed by more than one incarnation. Does it happen when you don't have time to implement everything in one incarnation? Little soul, it's not time to talk about it yet. You are not ready to hear it right now, and this time I ask you to trust me and to follow my advice. The soul nodded decisively. Yes, mentor. I promise I am ready to wait as long as necessary. A woman patted a young soul on the head. I'm very glad you are showing more patience now. I am proud of you, especially remember that in the universe there is no conception of time, and the moment you are waiting for may come much sooner. Thank you, Buddhi. The young soul smiled really happily. It's time for us to say goodbye, little soul. Are you leaving? Will I see you again? You and I will definitely meet many more times, and how before I leave, I want to give you one last message for today. I ask you to remember it. Of course, Sunny Helen. What kind of message is this? The young soul is ready to listen. I ask you to thank your parents for everything, for all the experience and knowledge they have given to you, because now you know that they fulfill only your request. I ask you to remember that parents are more important and higher than you and your family, so you should always treat them with this respect and see strength in them. If I follow all of this, what will I get from it, mentor? You will receive energy from your parents and the whole clan. It will give you knowledge and talents. This energy and knowledge you can direct to the harmonization of your state, the service of your life, and making it better. And also remember, you can always turn to your family for help. You can ask them for help. They will always help. They are always next to us. At that moment, the woman's long dress rustled and disappeared in the night, and the young soul felt the hand on her own shoulder. Turning around, the soul opened her mouth and eyes wide in surprise. Behind her, putting the hand on her shoulder, was her mother, and on the right side, behind her, the soul saw her father looking at the soul with a smile. The grandparents also were there. Their father's parents on his side, they stood behind him, putting their hands on his shoulder as her father put the hand on her. And behind the mother stood her mother and her father, and behind them their mothers and dads. And this flow seemed endless. The soul looked at the family. Many smiled at her. The soul first realized how strong her family and she is. Now she knew for sure that she wasn't alone. With many generations, knowledge, positive and negative attitudes and programs, experience. From the impulse of goodness, the eyes of the soul were filled with tears, and she allowed them to flow freely on her cheeks. My family, my soul, said the soul, watching the new dawn. Now she sat on the stone alone again, but with all her heart she felt the strength of her own soul, as well as the support, wisdom, and strength of her male and female families. Now she knew that she had never been alone and would never be. Now the soul knew for sure that it was strong and cope, and she can handle everything.